What's up, Purple People Podcast and Minnesota Vikings fans? How are you guys doing today? What a whirlwind of a show we have for you.
I'm glad we waited a little bit.
Yeah, I said that in the chat, right? It's usually the day after we have a big announcement that we, put a show up. Like today is a Tuesday, and then the next day something will happen, so we have to wait a week to talk about it. But
usually Adam and I will sit here and pound our fist on the table and be like, Greg Jennings is such an asset to this team.
That was such a terrible timing.
He's going to make the roster. It's just he's a good veteran presence, and the next day he's cut.
That's incredible. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Welcome everyone to the Purple People Podcast. This is episode 499. It's crazy. We're going to hit 500 next week. 499 episodes of the Purple People Podcast. This is Hockin on Heaven's Door.
And we are a weekly show, just a reminder. I mean, this isn't one of those shows that puts out 4 or 5 episodes a week.
Hey, you know what? I used to hate on some of those guys for personal reasons unknown because, it's fun to get into the group sometimes.
There are a few that just don't seem like genuinely good people.
That's where I wasn't going to go. Yeah, you know what, Adam? You had the balls to say it in a nice way. I was not going to say it like that, but that's how it should be said for stuff that we hear online. But I also, good God, it's a lot of work. Like I mention Luke Braun all the time because he's pretty popular in Vikings Twitter and he's got his own show. I don't know how that dude puts out a show 5 days a week. It's exhausting. So I'm glad that we do it once a week. I can't believe we're at 499 episodes. Yeah. Hockin on Heaven's Door. This is a trade day. This is a recap day of a crazy game over the Cardinals. But I want to start off and share, and I'm going to share the screen here just because we need to. It's frustrating that these things happen to young people. And now I'm trying to find the share screen stuff here, and it looked like it changed. Dang it. I'm going to find it.
Well, if I can be honest, I don't know a ton about TJ Hockenson. I know he's a tight end. I know he was drafted very high. But otherwise, I haven't watched a lot of his gameplay to know how he even plays.
8th overall pick in the year that he came out from Detroit. So this is a top 10 player.
But didn't they take Ebron at 9 once?
Oh, God, he was a Lion as well.
This is also Detroit, so don't.
All right, we'll get into the other stuff later then. TJ Hockenson, there's a trade today. The NFL trade deadline was today at 4 p.m. Eastern, which is about 4.5 hours.
I don't know if the dude can block or not.
Well, everything that I've seen from Lions Twitter is he can do everything, and he's a better pass catcher than what Irv Smith was, which is I don't really know how to compare the two because Irv had a lot of injuries. That's his biggest downfall. That's news today, too. If you guys didn't hear, the reason we got TJ Hockenson was because Irv Smith is going on IR.
6 to 8 weeks.
I heard Adam Schefter say on TV today, 8 to 10. He might not even come back.
No, he won't be back this season.
Yeah, it's very unlikely. And if he was with TJ Hockenson here, he'll be a backup. So his time in Minnesota is all but done, which is sad because I like.
Hopefully, we still see some Johnny Munt.
Johnny Munt will definitely be there.
Here is a stat for you, Adam. He was TJ Hockenson. Probably far and away one of the best players on the Detroit Lions. So against the Seattle Seahawks, 8 receptions for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns.
So
I think we will add that.
So he can block then?
He can catch passes, which is really what
the Vikings have guys that can catch passes.
I like the answer that Ryan Clark gave today. Because I understand what Adam is saying, and he drives home a very good point. The thing that we lack on this team offensively,
and they already traded for 1 first-round pick that is there to catch passes.
He's there to return punts.
He's a special teams.
Let's be real about that.
two different kinds of players here.
But as I was saying, the thing that this does dynamically is Irv Smith wasn't necessarily like blow your socks off tight end in the NFL. This is a top 10, I think top 5 tight end in the NFL. What are the safeties going to do now? Who's going to double up anywhere? There's going to be a matchup now, and I'm stealing like a little bit of Ryan Clark's bit here, but think about what they do for Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. This is what was said today on their show, whatever show on ESPN that he's
You think he'll get Kittle kind of attention?
I don't know if he'll get that attention, but I know that now Kirk Cousins literally has 5 options if they're all out there, which should be most of the time, of J.J. Thielen, Osborne, or I'm sorry, 4 options. Dalvin Cook, if you want to count, the side or the, screen passes, whatever. But these are all top-notch. There's not a weakness now as far as the skill players. Could we have added a better lineman somewhere? Maybe. Could we have added a corner or something? Sure. But what it looks to me like now is this offense is going to be top 5 in the NFL. I don't know how you cover every one of these guys one-on-one.
So this is going to be the guy that stops Minnesota from so many 3-and-outs?
Yeah,
Possibly.
I think so.
If I see it and believe it, I'll believe it. But until then, I don't know.
I really think so, Adam, because his strong suit, obviously, he's a tight end. So he's not a big vertical down the field, stretch the field kind of threat kind of player, but he's an excellent safety valve for Kirk. And we know that Kirk likes his checkdowns. And so Hockenson is a big bodied tight end. He's what, 6'7"?
He's massive.
He's big.
So he's a massive target. He'll pay dividends in the red zone for this team because
I haven't looked really at him at all since he came out in college, and I think
6'5",
I did his draft evaluation over on the Viking Age. That was a long time ago.
I feel so old. July 3rd, 1980 or 1997. Jesus.
Is that when he was born? Holy shit.
Yeah. So where is his?
So would the Vikings give up a second and a fourth for 2 fourths?
A second and a third, not in the same year.
No, I've seen it as a second and a fourth. So I've seen conflicting compensation on that.
6'5", 244 pounds. I mean, he's a massive target.
So Minnesota really didn't give up that much to get him.
No, not at all, which is crazy because when you think about if it was just TJ Hockenson that we got in return and the picks, I would say it was 50-50 even because they're pretty much saying, hey, I don't want to pay this. He's going to get paid. If he stays with Minnesota, he's going to get paid.
Oh, no, the second the Bears gave up for Chase Claypool, I feel like they overpaid.
Yeah, I don't know what he was drafted, but I don't feel like he was
a second rounder.
It's tough too. They've had to go through some ugly quarterback transition there, and Ben Roethlisberger was terrible the last couple of years, but it's better than the options they have. I think he's automatically the wide receiver 1 in Chicago.
I feel like a lot of Minnesota fans are a little bit higher on Hockenson because he is from that, tri-state area there.
Right.
Which is fine. It's great to be excited about it.
I agree with Wes. I put his comment up on the screen here. He was a very reliable patch catcher, if I can speak. For the Hawkeyes when he came out of college, fairly reliable for Detroit. There's a little bit of an injury concern history with him as well too. I believe he was just on one of their injury reports, but he did.
When he came out, did he come out the same time as Noah Fant?
Was that the same year? Yeah, I believe that was the same.
Because I think I was a little higher on Fant than I was on him. Yeah.
Which just there was a
blocking.
There was a rumor that the Vikings were potentially interested in working a deal out with him, trading for Fant as well.
Right. Too. I had heard that.
Yeah, nothing came out with that one. So it's interesting that they were kind of looking maybe at both tight ends.
They did come out the same year. I'm looking at the draft. That's when we drafted Bradbury, Seattle. I can't remember which team he went to. Oh, yeah, Denver here. Iowa, yeah, I forgot they went to the same school. He was the 20th. Yep.
One was Iowa and one was Iowa State, right?
Yeah, they were both Iowa.
Both Iowa boys. Right. And then 8th overall Hockenson. I'm looking here at Adam Schefter's stuff from earlier today. This was at 12:33. Wants to get a second round pick next year and third the year after in 2024. The Vikings get back. Obviously, they get TJ Hockenson in, but they get a 4th round pick next year and a conditional 4th. The next year, possibly a 5th. If we win a playoff game was the condition on that. So they get a 4th and at worst a 5th and a player. So I mean that's
and a damn good player who's a
starter, man. And the thing is, we haven't said this in the chat yet or on the show. You don't get these trades in the division hardly ever. I cannot believe they traded to a division rival, but I think it really speaks to what Detroit is doing right now. They say, hey, we don't want to pay the kid. And that's okay. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but he's instantly.
What is Detroit doing?
Well, they have one win, so they got to kind of do what they can do now to accumulate
I think
points.
I think they're doing it smart. They're doing what Carolina should have done today with Brian Burns. I mean, that's just my opinion. That place is a dumpster fire. You already got rid of Christian McCaffrey and got a ton of picks. You might as well have gotten 2 more because Los Angeles was willing to give
I'm
away
surprised they
2
didn't deal Burns and more.
They should have. But I get it. There's always that argument of, well, why would you take a risk on a 50-50 chance in a draft pick when you have surefire talent here? But
right. It's like if the Vikings decide to start rebuilding, you would not expect them to deal Justin Jefferson.
Right. Oh, here you go. Adam, do you not like the trade? Initially, what are your thoughts? We'll talk about it after the season, of course, but what's your...
I already stated at the very beginning that I don't know Hockenson enough to know if I like this trade or not. I need to see what he can do on the field, what his role will be in this offense.
Where can I get a Hockenson jersey? Dude, I thought about it today. I was like, man, I know Wes wanted him really bad when we talked about that.
But I feel like the compensation Minnesota gave up was enough to maybe take a chance and rolling the dice on him since Irv was going to be out. And they must not have felt too comfortable with Johnny Munt being tight end 1, which is weird because Munt's been playing pretty well.
I was going to say, I like me some Johnny Munt. They've done a pretty good job of scheming him open. What Hockenson is going to bring more to the offense is you don't have to scheme him open. He can just be that safety valve for Kirk, who's out there who can catch passes. Now
does he have that kind of Kyle Rudolph catch radius kind of deal with those long arms?
I think he's a little more athletic than Kyle Rudolph, just based off of the film that I've seen. Yeah, but
the former basketball player in Rudy made him so much.
That's the thing with Rudy. He was just big, which is great, but he wasn't fast. Hawkinson's faster than Rudolph for sure. I don't know if he's as tall, but
Hockenson looks stronger.
He's big, man. He's a big ass dude, like 6'5". He's like 250. He's a big target. But what I was saying earlier, to your point, Adam, is now on the like nobody was just going to leave Irv Smith wide open anyways because he's a good player in the NFL.
Smith's run after the catch was very good.
But now what it does is you have all this talent at every layer. I don't know, but outside of JJ, who you double, because KJ we've seen is having a great year. He can get open. Thielen can still get open. And now you upgrade at the pass catching part of your tight end there. I mean, I think for right now, for everything this is, I feel like Minnesota did a great job. I cannot believe Detroit gave him away, but I got to work at 12 p.m. I was training with my dog outside. I'm, shooting the shit with the guys at work. And I feel my watch it felt like it was exploding. I was like, what is happening? Who's texting me? All my friends are like, TJ Hockenson, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, did we trade for TJ Hockenson? No. What? I thought today, and we could talk a little bit about trade rumors, I thought the Vikings were going after Brandon Cooks because he was liking all these Viking tweets last night. And I'm like, TJ Hockenson? Well, I remember mentioning it on a couple of shows ago that it said there were rumors out in Twitter land. Vikings are interested in a tight end, but you wouldn't think it was going to be this guy. Of all the guys, somebody in the division. Like, I don't know. I'm happy with it, though. I can't be mad at the team for being aggressive and saying, hey, look, especially with Irv going down. That's the X factor here.
No, it's Minnesota only having 1 loss right now. I mean, they do kind of got to push their chips.
Yeah. Here's what I like about it. Is that you look at this team being 6-1 right now, and you look at the division around us. It's a wide open division for the Vikings to make a play right now this season to be good. And
it would only take a few more wins for Minnesota to really get a good tight grip on this division.
I know. So I like the fact that they were aggressive in trying to add a piece, but I also don't feel like they gave up a bunch to add a player who's going to be a dynamic part of this offense. Like they didn't really give up the farm to bring him in. And so I'm a fan of that because you can, prior to all of this, if you would have said, okay, the Vikings are going to, we're going to try our best, but the chips are really on the table for next season, I would have been like, yeah, that makes sense for what the Vikings are trying to do. So I do like the fact that they assessed and looked at where they're at right now and looked at the competition around them and said, hey, we're going to be aggressive this year because it's not every season Patrick Peterson said this as well too, that he was trying to stress to the guys on the team.
It's not every season the Packers fall apart.
Yes, and it's not every year that you're going to start out 6-1 and have this kind of a record. So take advantage of it.
Well, the last time the Vikings went 6-1 was the 2009 Brett Favre season. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen this year.
And look at 2010. So, it can change quick.
Very fast.
Go for it. Go for it this year.
I think the other thing we have to talk about, too, that we haven't really dived deep into after, we'll wrap up this TJ Hockenson stuff, but, man, when you talk about the round picks that you give away, okay, you give a second. He's worth a second. He was a top 10 pick. He's worth a second. He has lived up to that. I don't even want to go for statistically, just all around it. I've seen enough to be like, okay, yeah, he's worth a second right now for sure. But you swap fourths, and then I think there was a conditional fourth.
Right.
Where are we going to be drafting at? The Vikings, if everything keeps going like it should, which I think it will this season, we're going to be in the mid to late 20s. Picking. So Detroit might get that next year or the year, but they're going to be waiting later. It's not like they're getting at the top of the round. You got to think of these things too as part of the trade. And Detroit's really bad. They won one game. The pick that we get and swap with them, it's going to be higher.
I don't understand why Detroit is struggling as bad as they are. They've got some decent receivers. They've got a quarterback that's been to the Super Bowl.
Right. And
I just don't know.
For the first couple of weeks, they were the highest scoring offense.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And the pass rusher they drafted has been playing very well. I don't know.
Here's the thing for the Vikings, and then we can kind of wrap up our talk on this one, is that, we got so conditioned underneath Rick Spielman to think that these draft picks are gold, when really I don't care about a 4th round pick. I really don't. You're bringing in a player who's going to contribute right now to this offense and to this team. And so who cares that you gave up a 4th round pick? I really don't care. Now, I know that every now and then you can grab Danielle Hunter was a 4th round
right
pick, I think.
Or Stephon Diggs.
Or Stephon Diggs. You can do that, but more often than not, we've seen the Vikings take flyers on these players who don't ultimately end up being
more often than not. You're going to get a Willie Beavers,
right? So in this instance, I don't care about what they gave up to bring him in. I think that it is an excellent trade for the Vikings.
So one thing I really didn't understand from today was how the Bears decided to trade for an offensive weapon when they've been trading away their defense. When you think they're gonna pile up picks and try to start over and have something new for next year, they're like, okay, I know they want to get their young quarterback some weapons and get him some confidence. I get that, but
sure.
Wow. I don't understand their direction as a team as a whole.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I really don't know what Detroit is doing. For the Vikings, did you guys think they would make a play for a defensive player? Because I kind of thought maybe they would look at addressing the corner. We've had quite a few receivers who have went off for a number of yardage. We'll talk about that when we talk about the Arizona game.
I honestly did not expect any trades for any defensive players because the way that they are playing their schemes, it's the way Ed Donatello really wants to do things.
Boy, I thought that maybe they would be looking for some extra help at corner. I know we just got Booth back, so maybe they're hoping that they can ease him in.
And Densler's taking steps forward.
Right. Patrick Peterson is playing with a chip on his shoulder. He's having a pretty good year for the Vikings. So it's a bend not break defense for Minnesota right now. They're letting players get yardage up and down the field, but when it's coming to the red zone, they're finding ways to stop the opposing team. So I guess that's a positive.
Oh man, you guys think we let Irv go now? I typed it in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, I think so.
Irv went to IR. This is his last season in Minnesota. I think the writing's on the wall.
I don't think they'll bring him back unless he signs for almost nothing and he's happy being a backup.
There will be some other team who's going to fall in love with Irv Smith and say, yeah, he's been injured, but
he's got good speed. got good
Right.
elusiveness, so I'll give him a try. He'll get picked up the same way that Conklin got picked up by the Jets, and he's having a good season over there.
Right.
Why have we not addressed the corner? Well, we have one that was injured that's going to come back. Chandon Sullivan's been all right. Bantler's good. Peterson's
When you got
been
an
great.
all-pro and a young player that's coming up, and you got a decent nickel corner in place, and you got a defensive scheme that where you don't need too many corners. I mean, it's just not a immediate situation. Not the way tight end was on paper anyway.
Tight end, especially with Irv going down, there was not much depth there. And even with Irv being healthy, I like Johnny Munt, but there wasn't really much depth.
He's, as much as I like him too, he's not a threat.
He's a guy, and sometimes that's not a bad thing. Like you have your superstars and you have your role players, and Johnny Munt is a role player,
Right.
and that's fine. But he will be better as a tight end too on the field instead of trying to make him be the primary pass catching tight end for the Vikings.
So, do you think Hockenson will suit up for the next game against Washington?
It's right at that perfect time. If he was traded today, it probably means he'll get in tomorrow if he didn't already get to Minnesota today. I wouldn't expect him to know the route tree and be doing anything crazy, but who's to say he can't come in on goal line and block or do whatever? I don't know if he plays special teams. I don't know if tight ends do that, but I'm sure he'll fly with the team and go with what I'm excited for is we'll have another weapon for Buffalo. Do I think he sends us over the edge to beat them in Buffalo? Absolutely not. I think the Buffalo Bills are going to steamroll this team because they're really good, but it makes me have 5% more interest to watch.
But can the Vikings keep up with Taylor Heineke and the Commanders?
Hey, this is the next comment I was getting to. Maybe this week won't feel like a pseudo win. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, Charlotte. This team is going to be tough as nails to beat. They remember this. I know this is a couple of years ago, but I don't care. This Washington team gave Tom Brady its worst and most challenging threat in the postseason 2 years ago with this quarterback.
I like this bold take from Jeremy Woods that we got up on here. He calls Herb Smith trash. Adam Thielen is declining number 2. That's fair. He is declining a little bit. Osborne, I would not call KJ Osborne trash, but I don't
Definitely
think
not.
that he's quite stepped into the role maybe that we were expecting from him. So yeah, TJ Hockenson being the number 2 option out there, and like I said, and like you said, that safety valve for Kirk, because we know Kirk likes that check down. It's a good fit. It's a good fit for this offense. We should all be
has
excited.
disappeared quite a few times this season.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean and say that Irv was trash because injury is it's part of football, and some people will just get dinged up more than others.
Right.
Yeah.
My fat ass is not getting out there getting hit by 250-pound linebackers. I can tell you that. So for me to be like, you're trash, I can't really say that because I would never do it myself. But Irv, yeah, we can lose him. Thielen is declining. I will fight you to the death, Jeremy Woods. Osborne is the opposite of trash. He is our second coming of right. 100%.
Jarius Wright.
100% he is.
What did we call him?
I watched him
Third
win
down?
a game. Yeah, Mr. Third Down. I watched him win a game last year in Carolina in overtime, walked it off. And then I don't know if you guys saw that touchdown this weekend. Hell of a throw, but you got to have the concentration to catch the ball. That touchdown to KJ this weekend, oh my God. I mean, it was almost as impressive. If it was one-handed, it would be as impressive as DeAndre.
The angle on that throw that Kirk had to take, that was sweet.
I mean, money. Yeah, no, KJ Osborne is not trash. Irv, we can lose. I agree with. Thielen is declining, and I don't like it because I love him and I want him to play here forever. But you're right. He will be a safety valve. I 100%
doesn't
agree.
quite have the speed that he used to, but he's still an excellent route runner, and he still has amazing hands. So he can still contribute and be a part of this team for another couple years, I think.
I agree. I love Andrew's comment too. I love Heineken, not the beer. Taylor Heineke. I'll tell you what he did, which is hilarious. If you guys haven't seen, he's trolling teams now that Carson Wentz is out for injury. Every time he beats a team, he buys Nikes or Air Force Ones or whatever in the colors of the team he just beat. Which
because
is
for every game he wins, I believe he gets what, $200,000 or something like that.
Something crazy like that. So I'm sure he just calls up somebody in LA or New York and like, I need these here in 12 hours. Figure it out. But sorry, bud, you're not ordering anything with purple and yellow this week. It ain't happening. It's not happening. I love that team, and I like his connection with the Vikings or whatever it was. And I love the grit that he showed. There's some guys that aren't as big and strong and fast, but they just play with their whole heart and they'll scramble and give you everything. That's him. But no, with the Vikings shit, our favorite in this game, they should be. But it's always a tough out. And let's not forget, has nothing to do really with anything. That field is dog shit. It's tough to play out there because that field sucks.
It's
and
bad.
I hate that for them. So we'll see. I think it'll be a tough game. I think it'll be a lower scoring game, and I think the Vikings should come out on top. Jeremy, I think what you're missing here, and I'm not trying to like talk down to you or anything like that. It's just open conversation, but he would be more active and put up the stats opposite of Jefferson. Well, he's the wide receiver number 3. So, I mean, first read's going to Jefferson, and I don't know, should get shut out in games. They take Jefferson out with double teams and safety help.
I agree with that.
I agree with that too, but that's also on Thielen to step up as the 2.
It's also on the offensive line to give Kirk enough time to go through his progression.
There's also the tight end that we just got rid of to get a different one for not being available or relying on a guy who was like 3rd string on the Rams. Like, I think you're putting more emphasis on Osborne being like more than what for what he is. He's amazing. I don't think he's a wide receiver 2. Could he be in some games if the matchups right?
I don't know if I'd ask him to do more than they already are.
I wouldn't. I like him exactly where he is. And I don't know. He fits. He fits the team. He fits the attitude. I like that he doesn't cause trouble. Like, that's my main thing. I'm very happy that he's not a knucklehead off the field. Here you go. Here's the take. Give Rager a chance to prove himself in the field at slot. Why not?
He's got the speed. His hands are really the only questionable part about him.
Yeah. Like Ryan said, they've got some interesting gadget plays. They kind of use him as a decoy. They use that speed out there with him a little bit. I like what they're doing with him. That he's still, I'll be honest, he's still not a player that I'm super thrilled about. I mean, he's better than the guy that he replaced. So I get what they were going for, but I don't. If he's gone out of Minnesota after this year or maybe next year, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I'm not surprised the Vikings didn't make a lot of trades or have a lot of trade interest in a lot of these pass rushers and things like that, because Zadarius Smith is quietly putting together, not even that quietly, he's had an amazing season.
He's having a great season that the media is not talking about.
That's fine. I also like that Green Bay's paying the bulk of his salary.
Hunter isn't quite there this year. I don't know what's holding him back. I know they're dropping him back into coverage a little bit more.
I don't know if Hunter doesn't quite fit the defensive scheme that they're trying to run or what, but I'm a little disappointed with his overall performance. Zadarius has been an excellent signing by this team.
He fits the system, and if I remember correctly, that's what Green Bay was running, so it was just a matter of health, and he seems healthy, knock on wood. But also people that were quick to jump on the Danielle Hunter trade train yesterday, because that was a big thing for like 24 hours. The Vikings are number 4, and I think for defensive ends or whatever else for pressure. Like, they're getting close. Danielle's just not getting the sacks that you want. It's Zadarius this time, and that's okay.
Those are the numbers you'll see when you take on players like Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy, I love that we can have this conversation. Thielen is our Greg Jennings. Hey, and here's where we agree, dude. I said it earlier this year. We need to find Adam Thielen's replacement, and we need to find it sooner than later.
Last year, Thielen had those 2 fractures in his back as well.
And I texted you guys in the group Sunday. I jumped the gun because he got back in the game. I was like, this is why we should go get a guy like Claypool or whoever. He got hurt early in the game, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me, man. Like, I hate it for him, and I don't be like, I'm not saying this in the way where I'm like, get up, you're being a bitch or whatever. It's like, I need you on the field, man, because you're a vital piece. But you're right. He's got a couple more seasons. He's going to retire Viking, which is great. But I've said this over the summer, and I've said it closer to when the season started. We got to find another piece opposite of JJ, and I think that should be something they look at next year, because when you go back and review after the season's over, however the season ends before the draft, you have to watch the games. You have to be like, all right, cool. Who do we have to possibly look at replacing. I think Adam Thielen's name's got to be in there, even though he's still good.
And Patrick Peterson isn't getting any younger either.
I mean, truth to that, we're going to draft another corner in the first or second round next year, the year before. You can mark that for sure.
TJ Hopkins, good guy. Check him out on Twitch. Plays a lot of Jackbox.
DJ, here's my answer to that. I don't think that Beckham takes a flyer on the Vikings.
I don't think Minnesota can offer what Beckham wants. He's not going to get targets.
Yeah, he's going to want to go. And I hate this because it's like the NBA, but I also, if I was him at this point in my career, I'd do the same exact thing. He's going to try to hop from championship team to championship team. 2 years ago, if he had the option, he would have went with the Bucks. He went with the Rams last year. Now he's going to look to the Eagles, the Bills, or the Chiefs. I mean, that's where I expect him to go. 100%.
Here's the thing, though. The Vikings keep winning. I mean, we're 6-1.
Those odds can increase if the Vikings keep winning.
Right.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know what you pay them with though, because we don't have a lot of money to do anything. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's kind of the stickler with this team is they're so up against the salary cap right now that I don't know. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we probably would have had Ndamukong Suh out there on the defensive line at this point too, but they just don't have the cap to kind of put together that much of a super team. And I'm kind of okay. Rookie? You know what? I'm kind of okay with that too. I really like the guys we've got on this team, and I'm glad that they don't have to go out and try to be the Rams and try to put together all the veteran talent out there.
Put in all your chips, man. They did. And if you win a Super Bowl, you love it, and you can kind of have an off year because they're having a bad year, but how many bad years is going to be worth after that? Like, if I'm a Rams fan, I'm like, well, we did it. We sucked this year. Oh, well, it's fine. Like, I could put up with it. I put up with bad Viking seasons before, but that's a question for me is how long is that going to last? Because you can say, well, the draft doesn't matter or picks or whatever, but how are you going to get players? You're just going to sign free agents and hope that they work? Like,
the salary cap might be a myth, but there's still only so far you can stretch it.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
When is the rookie running back going to be healthy? Any idea?
I believe he's still on short-term IR.
Yeah. We'll see. Speaking of healthy, where's AJ Booth?
Booth has been active the last 2 games, but hasn't seen the field.
Yep. You know what's good? A good thing for us as Viking fans and for the team, but bad for him is the corners have been heating up. They've been doing a really good job. This is probably the best game I've ever seen Patrick Peterson get fired up and just be like, I'm coming out here to.
He didn't get the 2 interceptions he promised, but.
Right.
Did you see that Coach O'Connell gave his 2 game balls to Patrick Peterson and Jordan Hicks?
He sure did.
That was real cool.
I liked Patrick Peterson. Boy, he was playing with some intensity in that game. He had some good pass breakups, too.
He was jumping
Patrick Peterson got asked, he said, what did you say to hype up this team? He said, I didn't have to say anything. Jordan Hicks took care of all of it.
He was pissed, too. He was calling out the owner. And the thing that I thought was interesting, because Patrick Peterson is like the veteran's veteran. He's the shit. I think he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. Possibly. I don't know. He's very, very good for a long time. But here's the thing. When a guy is like soft-spoken and just like, come do your job, I'm a pro, I'm good, like I leave my play to do the talk. When he's out here calling out the owner, and then he said, people used to leave emails that people sent.
Print off emails.
Printed emails and leave them in his locker. I'm like,
and on his chair for team meetings.
Who is it? Was it a motivating thing? Like, oh, you're not playing as well. Maybe this will motivate you. Like,
but like who like the overnight janitor? Like, who's doing that? Like,
he might have been the one who laid it there, but somebody put him up to those things. And I couldn't believe that when I heard it. I was like, you got to treat your cornerstone veterans with a little more respect than that, man.
Now I kind of feel bad for calling him old man Patrick Peterson a couple times on the podcast.
Here we go.
Another person I kind of feel bad for making fun of a little bit on the podcast now is Adam Zimmer. I mean, we all had a couple really good chuckles at some of the things that's happened in his career in the NFL, but sad news around him.
That's a sad story. I feel bad for Mike. You talk about a guy who's just had hardship all over in his life. Adam Zimmer passing away today. That's a sad story.
It's a kick in the nuts, man. It really.
I haven't heard anything about the details.
All I know, and this is this is, I don't want to say it official because I can't give you the source or whatever, but I'm friends with Mike's daughter on Instagram. You always see, if you follow her, all of you guys can follow her. It's not like I'm saying that being like, oh, we're friends. She's replied to me, and I've said very nice things about Mike Zimmer because I was a very big fan of his. But when she posted yesterday, which was Monday, she's like, you guys need to pray for my family. I didn't know what that meant. And then today she's, I wake up, I check. She's the first thing that pops up on my phone. And it says, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I lost my brother. He was only 38 years old, which is insane. But there was a welfare check, and this is out on, I think, the Vikings page too. But there was a welfare check called on because he still lived in Minnesota to come check on him. The police found him. There's no foul play suspected. But you just wonder if it was maybe like a heart attack or something like that. I don't know the details. When we find more, maybe we'll share it. But this was just heartbreaking. I feel so bad for Mike Zimmer because he lost his wife. Now his son, he's got to be hurting. And for all the stuff that was said about Mike Zimmer this offseason or any like personal stuff you didn't like about him before, like you have to feel bad for the guy. And I don't know. We at the podcast, we try to take the high road every time. And thoughts and prayers to the Zimmer family. All of them,
definitely condolences said in that way.
It just sucks. He was back, and he was an offensive assistant for Cincinnati. Football's in his blood, man. He's been. I was reading some of the stuff. He's been in football forever, and like a whole career at 38 there. But it's
that's
tough.
Barely older than like what you and I are, Smith.
I'm 34. I mean, I couldn't imagine that. And
I'm 35, and
I just
he's
feel
younger than
so
me.
Bad.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy, and to even talk about the football side of it is just disrespectful. So I hope no one tries to bring that into the equation. And I do feel really bad for Mike in this situation.
He probably wanted to take a year and get back to football is what I was guessing. I had no idea. I haven't heard any of this. This is just pure speculation. But now I think that's his only other child is his daughter, and she's got 2 grandkids. Like, enjoy that time with them. You've made all this money. Go enjoy yourself, man. Like,
I hope that Mike Zimmer spends time on the ranch and with the grandkids and go hunting and just just retire and spend time with your family. He deserves it.
He does, and he's done a lot for football, and he's got a ring. I mean, can't forget that. He was part of that Cowboy dynasty in the 90s. So,
right.
Good for him. We loved him as a coach here. He didn't win at the end like we wanted, but I liked what he brought to us. But I cannot stress enough, like, feel bad for all the crap he had to go through. Shout out Scott. Haven't seen your name in here in a couple weeks. We appreciate you for jumping back in. He says good trade.
That's funny, Scott. That's what I was talking about earlier. Is that I like the tight end. I was kind of expecting a corner as well too. Yep. They didn't do it. I think that maybe any corner that would have been worth a shit that this team could have got maybe would have been too high priced for the Vikings to bring in. We can kind of shit all over draft picks not really mattering, but I don't know if you really want to dish into your first and second rounders.
Well, I don't. Hawk's going to be almost a $10 million hit next year.
Who is?
TJ Hockenson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because the Lions did pick up his 5th-year option.
He's on his 5th year. I do think the Vikings are going to
they're going to find a way to work that through, whether it's an extension and kind of like figure out how to distribute some of that cap hit, or whether it's a conversion of bonus. Something will get figured out there.
Rick Spielman might be gone, but Rob Brzezinski is still here. And he was always the cap guru. We're going to do weird shit. And voila, we've got money again. So he'll do his magic, his voodoo, and sprinkle it out. And they'll get it taken care of. I think they extend him for another couple years. Like, you don't bring him in to rent him for a season and then let him go like that.
Which is weird because I feel like this is just other NFL news, but I feel like that's exactly what Baltimore is doing with Roquan Smith. I don't think he'll stay there. You got to pay Lamar Jackson, and that means all your shiny stuff that you want everywhere else is going to be B- and B+ at best. So,
and he wants Deshaun Watson money.
I was going to say,
he should get it. He should get it. He's very, very good. But the problem with that, like, I was just listening to Coward on the way home because I wanted to hear his take. Heard Pat McAfee's take. I heard Rich Eisen's take on this trade and all that stuff for us. But I'm listening to the other stuff that happened because there were some other trades. Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos went to Miami. You should see the picks that they turned in from that Trey Lance trade. Holy crap. Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, and now Bradley Chubb. Miami is all in, which is it's good. That's good for them. They're going to make a playoff run.
I love it.
Man, you think about I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry about that. I'm looking at the Kirk touchdown thing. I was like, how many games was that? 38, by the way, which is insane.
What's the streak? I guess I missed it. What's the streak?
He has 38 consecutive games with a touchdown pass, and he leads. It's like 7th most in history, and he's the one that leads it right now. So that means Rodgers or Mahomes, I don't know that they have that many.
Yeah, but Kirk sucks. You should just get rid of him.
But he's got a 500 record. Brr, brr, brr. Like, okay, well, he's 6-1 now, not playing his best ball, but I don't hear that shit anywhere.
You know what?
Undefeated in Kirktober.
Ever since they put the chains around Kirk, the gold chains,
all he does is win, dude.
Yeah, all they do is win. Hey guys, I like this Vikings team quite a bit. They really seem like they're gelling together.
Mm-hmm.
You can just feel it. Like when a team is playing together, it's like that 09 team where you start to believe and buy into them, where you're like, oh, these guys are working as a unit. And you listen to them and like their post-game press conferences, they believe in one another. And
but Minnesota's still at that point where they're not putting teams away.
Right.
And that's what I'm waiting to see. I'm watching if they can put Washington away. And if they could get a statement win and beat Buffalo, that would be huge.
Ooh, that would be huge.
That'd be a lot of talk. And you know what? Colin Cowherd talked about that today. He wasn't poo-pooing on the Bills, but he said, I'm not impressed by that win against the Packers on Sunday. He goes, when you only scored 3 points in the second half to that team, you catch it on the wrong weekend in the playoffs and you're going home again. He goes, who have they beaten outside of the Chiefs that you're like, oh, cool. And I get it. That might be the AFC Championship game, but he's like, don't get caught sleeping at home against a team that you should have blown out by like 20 points. And I was like, he makes a good point. I mean, Green Bay sucks this year. They're not good.
What, though,
they're not a good team, no.
What a good position to be in, where this team is 6-1 and we're
undefeated at home.
6-1, undefeated at home.
Undefeated in the division.
But they could be playing better. Like
they still have 3 road games left in the division, though. Which is tough.
Here's the thing about that, too. I don't care if they lose to the Bills. I fully expect them to lose because that's a better team. All I care about is winning the division, like Adam is saying, and winning in the conference. You've already lost to the Eagles. It looks like they're going to be the number 1 seed. They haven't lost a game. You want to host a playoff game, and you want to host that number 7 kind of shouldn't be their whatever team. And right now it would be the Rams, and I think we would kick the dog shit out of the Rams because I don't think they're very good. But
Cooper Kupp is injured now.
They're not good. They're not good. The NFC as a whole is not good.
And what is wrong with Stafford? I mean, he's not looking like himself either.
Wasn't he? It's just like Herbert, man. Wasn't he hurt to start the season, or like got hurt at the very beginning of the season?
Yeah, wasn't there a deal with his hand still?
His hand or his bicep, something with his throwing arm. Like I want to say it was hand, bicep, or shoulder.
Yet people thought that the Seahawks could be another winless team this season.
Geno Smith just said, I like what he said too. He goes, his teammate said this for him, but it was a quote about him from him. It says, the next time I get a chance to start, I'm not giving it back. And it's like,
I love it.
But you know what else too? I've heard a lot of this because the Seahawks are generating buzz. They're going to be the 4th seed right now. And they're going to host a playoff game if they keep this up. They nailed all of their draft picks in the first couple of rounds recently. Like all of them they have a rookie left tackle, a rookie right tackle. Their running game's great. You still have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett's still there. It's like, if you just nail one draft where you're like, I got 5 starters out of this.
Geno doesn't have to be great for that team to perform well.
He doesn't, but he is playing great, which is weird. He's 4th in completion percentage, 4th overall in like QBR. Like he's playing great. And it's funny because like Mark Sanchez was on the Herd the other day, and he's like, I was teammates with this guy. He's like, and this is no disrespect to him because we're cool and we talk all the time when I see him, like covering games or whatever. He's like, when he came in, I was like, oh yeah, he just kind of likes football a little bit. He's like, you got to have the guys that are majorly obsessed with it. And he's like, it's just a kid who's like, yeah, you're talented, but I've seen talent before. And it's like, it's weird that you figure it out in like year 10, but This is such a weird season, guys.
The Rams getting their entire staff taken away probably didn't help either.
Yeah. No running game. Yeah, that's true. The Rams running game is horrible. Cooper Kupp is all they have. Yeah, I mean, Allen Robinson's there. He had kind of a breakout game the other night. Finally got to hear his name more than once, but ugh.
That's changed a lot of the teams that I thought were going to be good this year, just really bad. The Raiders, I figured they'd be pretty solid this year. Now that there were no distractions and they got Devontae Adams, I was like, oh, wow, here it comes. And boy, it's not been good coming.
It sucks too because I got one guy Carlson on my fantasy football team, and he got me 0 points the other day. They didn't even kick a field goal.
Oh no!
Well, wonder if Mike Tomlin's on the hot seat in Pittsburgh. I don't know, man. They never fired coaches there, and they have a rookie quarterback, so I
think Tomlin's got a long leash.
Absolutely, their defense is still really good too. I don't know. That division's tough though.
If Tomlin was available as a head coach, he would be available for 2 days before someone would sign him. He is not the problem in Pittsburgh at all.
I agree.
Yeah.
I could see some other coaches getting fired, like Cliff Kingsbury. I could see him going, even though he's fresh off an extension.
Yeah, they're going to look at that and they're going to go, it's going to either be the coach or Kyler Murray, and I don't think they're quite ready to throw the towel in on Kyler. So yeah, the coach is gone.
He
kind of seems like a dick. I really don't like him.
Yeah, the number one in the NFC is not out of reach. It's only one game out. But
Here's
I mean,
it's
going to be a hard game to catch up.
Here's the schedule, and I don't think that we'll catch up because I think we have more losses coming up on the schedule than they will. Which sucks because I feel like this is 2017 all over again, which really is going to piss me off. But this Thursday, November 3rd, the Eagles travel to Houston. I'm sure Houston will put up a fight, but I think the Eagles win that game. They play at home against the Commanders, at Indianapolis.
Don't say Commanders.
Yeah, the football team. Every time Kyle West is like, don't say the Commanders. At Indianapolis, I don't see them losing to them. Green Bay in Philly. Tennessee will be interesting. If they can do what they do best, they could give them a run for their money. But here's the interesting thing for the Eagles, because all of these teams, and this is all in December. Now, 2 of them are going to be outside. 1 will be indoors, but these are all on the road.
Do they face the Giants again?
At the Giants. They face the Giants twice. At the Giants, December 11th. At
Daniel's
Chicago.
Going to get it done.
They're going to lose one of these games. At Chicago, December 18th, and that shitty weather. At Dallas on Christmas Eve. Dallas is going to they're in the playoffs right now too. I think they're the 5 seed. That might be another loss for the Vikings because that defense is really good. Then New Orleans and New York Giants at home. So, but there's a stretch there. Tennessee, at the Giants, at Chicago, at Dallas. The Eagles aren't going to have a perfect record this year. They're going to slip up somewhere. But yeah, for the next month, I don't see them losing another game.
You ever notice that the coaches' seats get a lot warmer when their quarterbacks aren't playing well?
Isn't that weird?
Weird how that happens.
Colts,
right now, we have no idea who the Colts quarterback is going to be next year.
No idea. I'm guessing probably
Andrew Luck.
I'm trying to think who they said the other day. It was really funny. Trevor Lawrence. They'll trade him because he's doing terrible in Jacksonville. That won't happen. Who did they say was going to be their starting quarterback of the Colts in 2023? Somebody who's doing terrible this year. Maybe Baker Mayfield. That'd be hilarious. Oh, he said Geno Smith will love for MVP. I mean, keep it going. We'll see. The Lions forever pent. Yeah. Hackett. I don't know how Nathaniel Hackett still has a job. He's absolutely awful. Colts coach should be on his way out. They fired their offensive coordinator. You're correct. That was a weird thing in Philadelphia, too, for that Philly dream season, is they just had a really good run of coordinators there, too. Like, that's a perfect combination. Frank Reich was running the offense. I remember, too, like, little things you don't notice. Like, I'm not saying Doug Peterson's a bad coach, but the Philly special that came out, Nick Foles literally walked up to him and said, "You want Philly?" Like, Doug Peterson didn't suggest that play. The freaking quarterback did. A backup quarterback suggested that play. I don't know. Good night, Jonathan. Tell your kids to pipe down. 11-6 is a reasonable record for us this year. I think 12-5 is what they'll end up.
Would 11-6 be disappointing at this point?
At this point, I'm looking at that going, yeah.
Yeah, I would wonder where the other losses would come from to make 5 more. I'm thinking it'll be tough against Dallas. Buffalo will be 2. Maybe the Patriots. They're always hard to.
Patriots in prime time.
Yeah, they don't have any other primetime games, so 3 or 4. Yeah, 13-4 is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I like
which
that.
is crazy.
I think they'll beat
Minshew, the
Dallas.
Colts.
They can beat Dallas. I don't.
I
Dak
hope
Prescott,
so. If I have to hear
really,
another season, another
he
year
really
of
don't
beating
impress
boys,
me too much anymore.
They've got an old school approach this year, which is really nice for them. They're running and the defense is great. Anyways, talking about all these other teams, let's talk about the Vikings, and we'll go through this very quickly. The Vikings beat the Cardinals on Sunday. They, of course, made it a game. I feel like they should have won by more than 8 points. I'm going to do it backwards this week just because I didn't appreciate it at all. Greg Joseph, you're my donkey. You got to get your shit together, dude. I get it. Kicking is hard, but 0 for 1 on field goals, and he missed an extra point as well. Like, points are being left on the board. I don't like that at all. He kicked one of the ones he missed a field goal that he went to do, kicked it, went straight into another guy's helmet. Like, I don't know how you – I know you got to get the distance, man, but you got to raise it up a little bit. That was pretty embarrassing when you see that. Was there a player that you guys didn't like this past game?
I didn't like the decision making on 3rd down, especially 3rd and long. They gave up way too many possessions by not putting themselves in good position on 2nd down. It was nice to see Minnesota finally have a run game.
Oh, yeah.
Which, if that hints at my game ball, which is going to be Dalvin Cook getting his first 100-yard rushing game of the season, which is disappointing because it shouldn't be his first. But, I mean, I guess you got to get things kicked off somewhere.
It's weird, isn't it? Like, to see Dalvin and Kirk not having their statistically best year, but the team.
Well, Minnesota's allowed teams to get back into games this year at a regular rate, so they haven't been able to just run to close out the game.
The last touchdown of the game was Kirk Cousins to KJ Osborne, and then the Cardinals had not 1, not 2, but 3 different possessions to come back. So the defense held their own. I don't want to make it the obvious choice because I try not to do that anymore. Zadarius Smith obviously should get a ball, but I'm giving my game ball to Kirk Cousins. How about that giraffe run around the corner for a rushing touchdown? Oh, man. This wasn't his best game, but he had a rushing touchdown and 2 passing touchdowns. So
and he could have had another rush for a first down, but he remembered that he's Kirk Cousins and was like, I am not going to do that. You can't even be mad at him. He wants
to throw.
He's not a scrambling quarterback. I don't want him to do that. So.
I appreciate games like this, though. Like, he got the first down, and I'm like, okay, sweet. And I'm like, oh, shit, he's going to score. And it was perfect. And you could tell when he got up, he's like, I don't want to have to run like that again in the game. Thanks. Yeah, Kirk, I'll give you a game ball for running, man. That. I don't want you to get hurt.
I'm going with Patrick Peterson. He had a good game. He was playing with some really he had a chip on his shoulder on that one. Like, that was personal. I liked him going after Cliff Kingsbury. I think that's awesome and badass, especially from a player like Patrick Peterson, who doesn't do that quite a bit. Like you said, he's a veteran. He lets his actions speak for themselves. Every now and then you like it when he comes out and it's just like, I'm going to talk mad shit.
One of the best things from this game was Harrison Smith intercepting the ball, running over to the cam window, and then going to the bench, walking over and letting all his teammates celebrate while he's over there on the bench.
Oh, I have to go on a rant, by the way, for this game. I'll talk about that in just a second because we're talking about it here. Mike Cabot, how long do you think the Cowboys are holding Elliott? How long is his contract for? Because they paid him. Also,
they paid him instead of their offensive lineman, which at the time I hated that.
It's stupid. And
especially when Pollard he's doing the job.
He's just as good. But you know what I'm glad the Vikings don't do? I'm glad they don't have an old bag of bones billionaire that comes on and talks on the radio. The best thing, and I mean this with all due respect because I don't want this on anybody, but the best thing that's going to happen for the Dallas Cowboys is when Jerry Jones is no longer with us. Good God, he is so fucking annoying. And I want to like him.
People said the same thing about Al Davis, though.
Yeah.
You haven't done it in it's almost 30 years since they've been to the Super Bowl, and it's like,
okay.
You
bring up a good point. I didn't even think of this until now, but you know what I like about Ziggy Wilf? Public speaking is not his strong suit at
And
all.
he's well
I mean, he
aware.
barely got through talking about Jared Allen when he's up there. So you don't have to worry about Ziggy Wilf ever
No.
talking to the media and being like, this is what the team needs to do.
Mark will
about
talk
the-
more than Ziggy will, though.
Think about the juxtaposition of that particular title, the Dallas Cowboys head coach. That is the biggest, in my opinion, brand in the NFL. That star is known everywhere. And, you know, you got the Dak being the quarterback is like, that's like a national thing. It's crazy. Bless you, sir. Goodness. But like, think about that. And then, you know, when you go in on game day or wherever it is, you're like, God, Jerry's going to talk about this. And then I've got to clean up the mess. It's always damage control with that like position. I would hate to be where Mike McCarthy is, right? I forgot his name.
He hasn't let a coach run that team since Jimmy Johnson in the 90s.
Absolutely.
Sergio was right. That play was Kendricks hitting at the ball instead of going for the tackle on Rondale Moore.
That's a fast player, by the way. I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was until this game. I had no idea who this person was. And also, I found out in real time that Budda Baker is that guy. Holy crap, he's a really good football player.
Yeah.
He was very good this weekend. I'm on Jerry's list now. Good. Jerry.
You're never getting into Jerry world.
Oh, that's it. My heart breaks. Oh, could you hear it hit the floor? Oh.
But I heard that you don't like going to good stadiums anyway.
I heard it hit the giant Jumbotron.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
All that for just to have punters have to like have the refs look back and be like, did that interfere with the play?
Kirk, what a design on that. They really thought that through.
SoFi got it right. Now, I've been to those. That's a great design. But anyways, Kirk had a good game. We talked about that. We talked about Dalvin having a 100-yard game. Madison came in, 5 carries for 40 yards and a touchdown. Jesus
yeah, he
Christ.
plowed his way through things.
Part of me thought that maybe the Vikings were trying to feature Madison a little bit, thinking trade bait, trade candidate, have a look-see-poo. I don't know. Maybe they got some offers. Maybe they didn't. We'll never know. But
the rumors are the phone was ringing, but
yeah,
who knows what the offers were.
I'm assuming the Vikings were looking for maybe a second.
Animals. Check on my dog. Make sure he's over here not dying. Goodness. Sorry, going back down the score. Alexander Madison made his presence felt. It was nice. Had a long of 15, 40 yards and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, just shy of 100 yards. Love that for him. Adam Thielen, still no drop passes for but as much as we were dogging him earlier. 7 of 8. One was out of his reach. Obviously, he hasn't dropped a pass here. 6 for 67. Jefferson, 6 for 98. Dalvin in the passing game, 5 for 30. Pretty cool.
I like
and
it.
my favorite stat of the day, Johnny Munt, 1 catch on 1 target for 1 yard for 1 touchdown.
Do it, Johnny.
Hell
that
yeah.
was definitely a reward throw for that blocking and pushing Dalvin
Cook.
Cook.
Sell too. And talking about the Vikings offense, that pitch to Dalvin is my new favorite play.
Ooh,
I never thought I would see
that was
Kirk
good.
disguise the handoff and pitch it like that, but goodness, he was open. Probably could have had at least I think that was a play where he ran to the middle of the field and just kind of met a guy head on. If there was some way that we could have got blocking out there, that could have been close to going to the house. That was such a good play.
Then we got to talk about how the hell Garrett Bradbury got called for taunting. Like, what?
Running his mouth. He had to have said something with the ref right there. But I didn't even care about it, honestly. I was like, well, at least you're playing with some heart. That's cool.
Yeah, I'll take it, I guess.
Never thought I'd hear that. The defense is where everything shined. Cameron Dantzler led the way with 9 solo tackles. There were 9 all solo. Love that. Zadarius Smith, all of his tackles were solo. 3 sacks, tackle for loss, pass defended. I mean, Jesus, dude.
He's good.
He's very good at football.
That's a good fucking signing.
9 total passes defended, 6 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, and yeah, the defense was just very good this game. I like that. Even though there were 26 points, I mean, they're doing their job. I loved how many interceptions we have down here? 2? Yeah. Cam Bynum and Harrison Smith. Love that. Got some return yardage on both of those guys.
What a perfect way for that game to end, too. You know, Jared Allen going into the Vikings Ring of Honor and the Vikings defense going out there and sacking the opposing quarterback to end.
It was nice that J.J. Watt was wanted to make sure that people knew he wasn't like trying to make a dig on Jared Allen.
Yeah.
I have
But
to
I think
see.
people that know the NFL, I think they knew better right off the bat.
Not from that guy. That guy's like Mr. Class and respectable. I know that.
Yeah.
Andrew, are you talking about? What did he say? I'll finish talking because I know there's a delay. With JJ Watt, is that who you're talking about? We can talk about that. I have a story about JJ Watt, and I've told it once on the show, and I'll tell it one more time just because it's so fun and it's cool. The Adrian Peterson year, the MVP season, I was deployed to a country called Kyrgyzstan next to Russia. It was super cold, and yeah, he was there with Steve Smith, DeQuell Jackson, all these great players. And we see him walk in the chow hall, and I worked in the night shift. And it's like 2:30 in the morning, and JJ Watt walks in, and you're like, who's this gargantuan ogre of a man? And my wife is with me at the time, and she squeezes my arm so bad that I looked over at her with the most hate in my eyes for anyone ever. I was like, what are you doing? That hurts so bad. She goes, oh my God, that's JJ Watt. And I was like, oh, that is JJ Watt. I was like, who is this human? So I was like, hey, well, you got a crush on him. Go say something. And she wouldn't go talk to him. I was like, well, that sucks for you. I'm going to have a conversation with the guy. So I walk over, and he's got to be jet lag, whatever. He has like 7 Snicker bars in his gigantic hand and like 3 bottles of water in the other. And I said, hey, man, are you who I think you are? And he was cool back. He goes, who do you think I am? I was like, I was going to make fun of you and say Jared Allen. I'm a Vikings fan. I know who you are. He goes, and this is before this is like defensive player of the year, JJ Watt. He's only 2 years in the league. He goes, man, I wish I was Jared Allen. That dude's a beast. And I was like,
cool.
That's so cool. You know, like,
yeah.
I loved that from him. And I was like, hey, you know, my wife is here. She's got a super crush on you. She's right over there. He goes, let me get breakfast and some food in me. He's like, and I'll come chat with you guys. Nicest dude in the world. But if you guys didn't know what we were talking about, Zadarius Smith did a sort of version of the Jared Allen calf roping celebration, which was cool. And then I guess JJ Watt did as well. I didn't get to see it.
Yes.
But he made sure to say on Twitter, he's like, I was not taking a dig at the guy. Like, are you kidding me? He's legendary, which I love that because JJ Watt's going in the Hall of Fame too. I mean, he's a monster, but can't believe he's playing too. He's still in the league. He's had some injury trouble, but he's playing through this.
Oh, what did Bradbury say? We have no idea.
Did he threaten someone's kids? I don't know, but it was right by the ref, and you saw the flag come out. It's just like, oh, he must have said something sideways.
I wish JJ Watt was on any team other than Arizona. Like, what a waste of his talent.
Yeah. Got a request for a Survival League update. We're down to 4 active players. Me and 3 others. Me and my fascinating pick set. Baron Karmnath. Justin, the name of either the other 3. NC Dog Dude went out in week 7.
Thanks.
And Bass or Base Interference, I don't know which one it is, went out last week with their pick of Jacksonville.
I picked the Patriots to beat the Bears. What are you doing? The Bears are hot garbage. I hate you so much. I have to go on a little rant here. I know I just told a story, but I did not like that DeAndre Hopkins was calling out that Harrison Smith should have got penalized. That was not a dirty hit. To all the Twitter trolls that say he's been a dirty player, you don't know your asshole from your elbow. You're stupid. Harrison Smith is not Vontaze Burfict. He's not these guys going out here to injure people. He's a classy person. He's a class act. He has had some times where he played a little old school ball, and he has been ejected from a game or two. But he does not have a history of hurting people. He does not have a history of seeking out helmet to helmet and causing injury. And I just thought it was – I mean, I don't want to say DeAndre Hopkins is soft. I'm sure he could punch me right in the mouth and I'd hit the floor. But it's kind of whiny and kind of diva-ish that Cameron Dantzler is pulling you down. And when you start a trajectory, I don't know if you know this, DeAndre, but you can't move your body and shape shift like the Matrix. Once it starts somewhere, that's the direction that it heads until gravity pulls you. So I don't like that. I don't like these offensive players crying about something when you objectively and logically look at it and say, okay, he wasn't trying to kill me. He was just trying to get a hit. Plus, you didn't catch the ball. You got to catch the ball first, dude.
All of the rules are so skewed towards offense.
It's annoying,
anyway,
and it's crazy that people lean in it to it so hard.
I know.
It really bothers me. But, you know, for that amazing one-handed catch that you had, you should have caught another touchdown right there, but you didn't. So
this is one of the weakest ejections in the NFL this week when a Packers player puts her hand on someone on the other sideline and got ejected from the game. So that was kind of weak. I mean, I get that following the rules for officiating has to be done.
Right.
But sometimes you got to go back to the way the rules were to where it's interpreted on the field as you're playing.
Why was the officiating so bizarre? Couldn't get ball placement right. I'm going to tell you what, man, this is a wonky season. I never thought in my day I'd hear that halfway through the NFL season, Brady and Rodgers would be terrible and their teams would be like well below 500, and Kirk Cousins would be 6-1, and Geno Smith would be leading a division somewhere. The NFC is terrible. Outside of the Eagles, they're pretty bad. Vikings are good, I think. I don't know. Dallas may be good.
And all the bad luck plays that typically bite the Vikings in the ass, knock on wood right now, somehow are not affecting this season. Like,
I'd love to complain about the Vikings coverage of DeAndre Hopkins, but DeAndre Hopkins is one of those guys that is going to get yards every week. You're not going to stop him.
He's so good at what he does. That's exactly what Arizona needed. I think it might be too little too late to salvage. I don't know how much him coming back gives you a win, guaranteed win through the season. Like, this guarantees 2 wins, whatever, but Adam's right. He is very good. I wasn't mad that he had a monster game. I was like, he's going to.
No,
I think they're putting it. It's either you have to put him on aging Patrick Peterson, which I didn't want to see Peterson get burned, or you put him up against Cameron Dantzler and hope for the best, which I think was a smart move.
Hey, if you keep calling him aging, Patrick Peterson's going to show up at your door and punch you in the mouth.
If he punches me in the mouth, I will let him. I'll videotape it. I won't press charges, and then I will politely ask him to sign my favorite Vikings hat.
They did play Dancer above Hopkins quite a few times.
Yeah, he was over there a lot, and that's where a lot of the catches were. But like you said, Adam, he's going to get his. He's so damn good, and even though it was PED related, like I'm not going to do that whole like does this taint his legacy thing, whatever.
No.
That time off probably helped his body heal. So
NFL.com gave the Vikings a C+ for the TJ Hockenson trade.
Well, fuck them. That's what I think.
I don't see how, and especially if you want to do the whole, well, let's see how the picks pan out, then we can't really talk about this for another like 2 years. But immediately the Detroit Lions got worse, and immediately the Vikings got better, and that's really all I care about. And they didn't. What I'm starting to notice with this GM, he's not gonna fleece himself. He's gonna find those weird deals that like make sense.
Hey,
and
the Vikings very clearly have an assigned value for these draft picks, where they are looking at it and going, okay, TJ Hockenson is worth this value, and this translates to these picks. We're willing to give up these picks, and it matches the value that we have on this player. The same goes with the receiver that we got from the Eagles. It was willing to match the value for what they gave up to bring him in. I will give them credit. They are sticking with their philosophy. You might not agree with it, but they're sticking with it.
Yeah, I like that. And I like that it's a little bit of a different approach. There's a progressiveness to this staff that I appreciate. And it's exactly what they needed compared to the old staff. No disrespect to them, but certain people stick to a formula and they want to pound it till they get it right. And
Spielman?
you run a risk of it not working so many times in a row to where you get canned, which is exactly what happened. But they have that risk here too with this team. They could be like,
we'll see.
You traded with Green Bay and Detroit. How could you? Blah, blah, blah. But all signs point to that was smart because Watson hasn't been anything special. And I don't even know that I have heard that receiver. I don't even remember what his name is. They took 12. I don't even know that I've heard his.
Care.
I don't even know that I've heard his name this year.
Yeah, who cares?
Went for the Lions? I'm not sure.
Jamison Williams, was that it? I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. Trade might blow the doors. I think this gives them. We'll stop it with this because we're hitting. Well, we're already over an hour. I didn't even notice.
But we're having fun. I think.
Absolutely. I think this trade is what will even out the offense to be more of one-on-one pick your poison. The people that benefit the most from this are Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins. It's not even TJ Hockenson. He came to a better team, which is wonderful for him. But Dalvin Cook and Kirk Cousins benefit the most from this because you're going to have to dedicate a guy to that guy. He's that good. And then it's less and then Dalvin can earn his keep and do what he does best and have another game like this.
If I can be critical on Justin Jefferson for a minute, so cover your ears if you don't want to hear criticism of Justin Jefferson. So at this stage in his career, he is not a Randy Moss, double team me. Who cares? I'm going to break double coverage. He kind of needs players around him right now that are going to pull coverage away from him for Jefferson to succeed.
Sure.
Now, he's still going to go out there and perform regardless of who's on the team around him. But I do think that adding another big playmaker is going to help Jefferson out.
I agree with all of that. We see, and you
Could
know
even
what?
help Adam Thielen too.
Yeah, I think it helps everybody, man. It's
It'll help Kirk
it's
out.
good. It's an
helps Kirk.
upgrade at a pass catching position, which is great. He's a better pass catcher than Smith, but maybe not better blocker. I'm not too sure. I can't fully say, but for what the NFL is leaning towards, this is the formula you want. I want an offense that has everything, and they do. And what was crazy is I can't remember. It was Dan Orlovsky, I think. It was that crew of people with Ryan Clark or whatever. He's like, I think that they have position group wise and skill player wise. He's like, I think they have outside of the Eagles. Now they have the most complete and best one outside of the Eagles in the NFC, which is, if you're top 2 in the conference, I mean, that's pretty damn good.
It was also Dan Orlovsky who had no clue what Twitch is.
Twitch is over here roasting him on Twitter. Also, Dan Orlovsky, I have to say now too, he's on my shit list. He was talking bad about Reese's peanut butter cups. You can piss off, sir. He said they were he said they were generic and overrated, and I was like,
I have one right here. No, they're not. I will die on this hill. They
wonderful.
are my favorite candy.
Actually, we'll sign off with that because we're going to do plugs and stuff. Guys, what's the best Halloween candy since Halloween was last night? What's your favorite Halloween candy? Give us that while we plug some things. Adam Carlson, have the floor, sir. Tell the people what you're doing.
Not eating Halloween candy at the moment. My sister brought me a Taco Bell, so.
Yes. Ooh. What'd you get from Taco Bell?
The $2 beefy burritos.
Good choice.
I think I put that on my Instagram story the other day. It's like, if I am lacking love and fulfillment in my life from a person, what's the next best thing? And somebody said Crunchwrap Supreme from Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I love their quesadilla. It's classic to me.
Baja Blast Mountain Dew. Got to get it.
That is the most overrated beverage on the planet right there.
Oh, here we go.
It's not even good. That's the bad part.
Why do I mute him? Can I mute Adam?
It's no cherry lemon sun drop, I'll tell you that. I like a quesadilla from there.
I don't even know what flavor Baja Blast is supposed to be. If it's supposed to taste like swamp, they got it.
Swamp ass.
Here we go. Mike Capon says Tootsie Roll. That's a classic. I remember those as a kid. Haven't had one in recent years. Reese's, obviously, I think it's on the Mount Rushmore.
I'm kind of impartial to Nerds.
Nerds are good.
That's a good choice.
Taco Bell order, though, after the quesadilla, I go between a beefy 5-layer burrito or the cheesy gordita crunch.
See, you go too fancy. That's expensive, Taco Bell there.
I gotta feed the inner fat kid here. He yells at me and I listen. Oh gosh.
Terrible.
I love this chat. Tootsie Roll, Reese's, and then Herb Smith stuff. Adam, plug yourself. I'll read these Herb Smith comments. We'll talk more.
You can check me out at MN Viking Zombie anywhere on social media. It's your TikTok, your Instagram, your Twitter. I'm on all of those. Twitch, MN Viking Zombie. Go follow me over there. We can talk sports. We can watch funny videos. We can look at cat pictures. It's all good. I'm also a contributor over on the Viking Age. Recently put an article about the takeaways from the most recent game against the Cardinals, and some of them might be a little bit controversial. I found out.
Sergio says Whoppers are the best chocolate candy. Fight me, Sergio. I don't know.
Let Whoppers stay in your mouth. Let the chocolate kind of melt off them in your mouth. Then let that the ball inside the Whopper, let that kind of melt inside your mouth too, and that's fantastic.
Sergio, the only Whopper I've ever had is from Burger King. I don't think I've ever had a Whopper chocolate candy. So I cannot contribute to this.
So next week's episode will be Kyle Smith eats a Whopper.
I'll bring it on. I wish that could be
Okay.
a segment every week. We'd be like, what have I not tried, or what have someone not had? And then the week after that, I'll ship both of you guys some sun drops, and you can
Okay.
give it a live reaction to that. That
I've
would be
actually got a
wonderful.
buddy that he does food challenges, and his next one is a Burger King Whopper with the milk chocolate Whoppers on it.
Oh my God. I like that.
No, thank you.
Oh, Ryan says Rolos. Dude, that reminds me of middle school. I had a teacher who used to give those out if you got 100 on anything. Like incentive to bribe us to work harder.
If I'm getting a chocolate bar, it's probably going to be like a Three Musketeers or something like that.
Chocolate bar, I would say the Hershey's with almonds is always a classic go-to. Butterfinger's good. I like Snickers, Milky Way. My personal favorite, though, I like the peanuts. I like Mr. Good bars. I'm a big fan of those.
If I want to get something with nuts, just a Paulson's nut roll is fine.
Baby Ruth, it's good and nutty. Melt in your mouth, not in your hand. That's what she said. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for that. I'm glad that you brought that up. Go bother Kyle West here at his social media stuff. He's very fun on Twitter. I will say that. I was giving him shit the other day for joining all the white women for putting up their Christmas tree today.
It's right over there.
Takes are questionable at best.
I heard all I want for Christmas.
What questionable movie take did I post recently, Adam?
Here we go.
Recently, I don't know. But I mean, long term, you've got some questionable ones.
I did call Hubie Halloween a classic.
I thought that was fun. I don't want to watch it again, but
you definitely should.
But it was fun.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, it's November 1st today. I already heard All I Want for Christmas Is You, and I wanted to punch an entire nursery. So that's about where I'm at with the holidays.
All I want for Christmas is a Vikings victory on Sunday.
So all you gamers out there, remember, it is no save November, so don't save your games.
I don't like that. I will not be doing that.
Snickers in the chat. Rolos will pull your fillings right the F out. That's hilarious, but not. Thankfully, I don't have those. Did anybody mention pops? They snap and pop in your mouth every time. We gave our 3-year-old some. It was comedy.
What, like Pop Rocks or what?
Yeah, you have to be more specific. I'm not sure exactly what pops are, but that sounds funny and terrifying at the same time.
They're like Pop Rocks, I think.
Okay. Here's my stuff for 3 seconds. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I'm kind of active there. Thank you very much. That's pretty much it for the show, though.
That'll do it.
This is $4.99. Hockin on the Heaven's Door. That's such a fun
We'll be back
title.
next week with number 500 to talk about the game against the Commanders.
The Commanders.
Say it.
The Washington Commanders.
The Washington football team.
They should have stuck the football team.
They should have just bought DC Defenders from the XFL.
They should have went up to whoever it was that trademarked all those names beforehand. That was a bold move, and I loved it.
The Red Tails and all that.
They should have just bought one and paid somebody. And be like, hey, what's your number? Okay, we'll do half of that, and then settle and buy it or whatever. But that's the stupidest thing ever. You had this one name that you shouldn't say, and hey, cool, we're gonna move on from that because that was not a cool idea. But then you go for a name for 2 years?
Yeah.
Just keep it. It's already there.
We kind of got used to it, and it's
so generic. Cool. It worked.
Yeah, I was actually used to it too.
I like that. Commanders is goofy, but whatever.
But yeah, we'll be back to talk about that and whatever else happens in the Vikings locker room over that time period. So come on back next week.
Oh, Scott.
We'll talk about all that kind of stuff.
Oh, man. This is a fun show. I cannot believe we're running for an hour and 20 minutes. The Vikings are rolling. They're 6-1. We love all of you. And what is it, a 1 o'clock Eastern game Sunday?
I'm not sure.
But
thank you, everyone who joined us in the chat. You guys make this so much fun. I always appreciate it. In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.